All
There we
right,
go.
we are live. Yay. Hey everyone. This is we're doing a live stream here to discuss the Ford Lightning canceling. I just want to thank Chris for joining me. He's with Bow Family EV, and he's he's been a subscriber of mine for a long time, even though he has a
Yeah.
much bigger channel. And I really appreciate you taking time on here. But this has been a very big whirlwind of a disappointing week for us, but finding out about the cancellation and but well, I just wanted to get on here and discuss it, just have some time. Like both Chris and I have owned Lightnings now for how long have you owned your Ford Lightning?
I the one I have now I got in July of this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had a Lightning since July of 22. I had the standard range first. Um, and then that one had some electrical demons, let's call them, some
Okay.
gremlins. It did not want to play well with others. Some 12-volt funniness was happening. So like 3 or 4 12-volt batteries later, depending on how you count them, um, it finally got bought back by Ford, and I now have, just because of how everything worked out, I was able to upgrade and get a platinum for essentially the same price as my standard range Lariat. So it all kind of worked out, you know?
That is awesome. Yeah, you were I remember catching up with you a little bit on your way driving through here. We didn't get to meet up, but I really, yeah, I saw your story on that. That is awesome. And I have a Lariat. I have a 2023 Lariat extended range, and but yeah, we just wanted to get on here and discuss this. And it's like there's a couple of things that probably many things that Chris and I agree on, but there's a couple of things that I thought of that we agree on. That one is like it's probably not the best idea what Ford's doing here, canceling the Lightning. The Lightning is the best truck out there that Ford has ever made. It's one of the best trucks. And the second thing we probably agree on is that the is that even though I'm a Cowboys fan and he's a 49ers fan, we both agree on this, that the 49ers will probably win the Super Bowl two times before the Cowboys ever get in there once. So
Well, we seem to get to the Super Bowl. We
yeah.
just can't win the Super Bowl. These are from the Super Bowl that we had in Miami. And this is the Pro Bowl jersey from one Nicholas John Bosa. And so the Pro Bowl is played between the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. And
Yeah.
so they can't actually play in the Pro Bowl. And so Nick Bosa gave me, the players get multiple Pro Bowl jerseys. They get a game jersey, they get a backup jersey, they get so they get multiple jerseys. I think 3 or 4 jerseys in total. So one of those jerseys, he has, one of them his mother has, and then one of them I have. So this is the Pro Bowl jersey. He signed it for me, and then this is the media helmet that George Kittle had that sits in front of him as well. So
Wow.
yeah, and so the players sometimes, they don't want a reminder of a Super Bowl that they lost necessarily. So I get these little kick downs every once in a while from players, and these are some different footballs, some different game balls and things. One of them from Coach Shanahan, one of them from the Kittle family. So some different stuff like that back there, just 49er memorabilia. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. All I got is a Cowboys hat. But yeah,
Yeah.
you got a nice little podcast set up. I actually am in my truck right now, and the reason why I'm doing this in my truck is I'm just trying to show you guys another example of what a great value this truck is. I'm doing everything from my truck. The live stream is happening from my truck. The Wi-Fi is connected, running from my truck, which they use AT&T for that, and all the power for all the lights is it's I don't look naturally this good. I have to have some lighting. No, I'm teasing. But I do. I got a bunch of lights connected, and the Pro Power is it's only pulling 380 watts though for this truck. But I've been running. We've been doing lots of tests and lots of setups. We've had a few little hiccups before getting on this live stream, and I've actually been running this for now 3 hours, and it has still only gone down 1% in 3 hours running all of this stuff. And I am inside my garage, which was something else I was going to point out. So what's happening with the Lightning is they're canceling the Lightning, and then they're announcing something called an E-Rev, and that E-Rev is going to have basically be an EV with a generator. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but I'm not going to be able to do that, turning that on in the garage, because I don't want that generator to kick on unless
I'm
there's a way to turn it
assuming,
off. So
yeah, I'm assuming there's going to be multiple settings. So, for example, on the, this is a total assumption, obviously, because we haven't seen anything, but the, in like the Escape plug-in hybrid that they have, for example, there were multiple drive modes. And so one of the drive modes that I was able to select in that was electric only. And it allowed me to be able to completely drive electric drivetrain. And then there was another one where you could prioritize where it would help recharge the battery and drive on a mix. And then there was another one that would go battery until it needed to kick on the motor. So I think there's going to be
yeah,
multiple ways that you could use that. And so I do think that you'll be able to do that without killing yourself in your garage, though.
that, that's going to be good. But I tell you what, I listened to your podcast. So Chris, those of you that don't know, he has a podcast with a couple other great guys that also have channels, and it's called what's your podcast again? Turn Down for What, right?
Turn down for what? Yeah, it's we do it with we have a couple different versions of it. So Josh and Jesse, who are out of Tennessee, and they run Power Up America, a charge station out there. They're going to open up their first charge station in Kentucky. They have some in Georgia. They have some in Tennessee that are they're going to be opening up as well. So we do interviews with them, with different people. Walter from Out of Spec is going to be our next episode that we've recorded. That'll be coming out next week. And then we do typical live ones like this that we're doing right now with Jace Kraft Miller from out in Ohio, and with Martin Meek from Martin Rebuilds out in Kansas City. I'm sorry, he would kill me right now. From Kansas.
Yeah,
And
you don't want to say that.
I want to say Kansas City. No, he's out in Kansas. So yeah, we'll do that as well. And then I have started doing on Sundays. I do a segment. So the one that we do with Jason Martin is called Tech Charged, and that is more technical, versus the one that I do with Josh and Jesse is more like CEOs and more industry, and sometimes some car reviews. We'll go as a group. We'll go to things like Act Expo, which is an industry thing that we'll do in Anaheim and Las Vegas. I do a lot of that stuff with FedEx and with their Power Up America stuff. So we look at chargers. We look at like bigger trucks that are used in industry and that type of things. We've done interviews with like the CEO of A to Z Charging. We've done interviews with like the maker of my tonneau cover, Work Sport. We've done interviews with like companies that do like electric airplanes, stuff like that, right? Charging companies. So it's a little bit kind of two different types of focuses versus when we do Tech Charged. A lot of times it might be people more of like towing and people that are part of the community and stuff like that. We kind of do different types of interviews depending on, that's more live and more chat interaction like we have here. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a whole lot of fun. And then the one that I've started doing on Sundays is called What's in the News. And
Okay.
so That is the first one was on Rivian Autonomy Day that we had out here in the Bay Area, and then obviously this Sunday will be about the Ford canceling of the Lightning.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're talking about here. So it's it's not been the best news. But the reason why I was bringing up your podcast is I was listening last night, and y'all had a good topic going. And but I think the other two guys cut you down on an idea that I agreed with. You had an idea on it's like, why couldn't you actually use some wind? Like you get wind generators on the side and then power up a generator in the back and keep it going. I've thought about that for a little while, so maybe you and I could get together and we'll invent something in there.
I am sure that they are right, though. They are smart guys.
Yeah, they probably are.
I saw the question in the chat about the R1T.
Yeah,
I'm curious your thoughts on the R1T.
well, I like it overall. The Rivian has been something that I've been a fan of ever since they came out. Matter of fact, they announced it before we even found out about the Lightning, and that was one of the ones that I was going to be getting with the Rivian. But I haven't test drove it yet, and I need to go do that. Matter of fact, my wife and I, so I'll go ahead and let y'all know now, my wife and I are going to do a series testing out a lot of different EVs because she wants to get an EV. We have a Tesla Model S right now that we're going to be giving to our daughter, but we're going to do a little series. We're going to be calling the good, the battery, and the ugly. So the good, the battery, and the ugly. And we're gonna just be talking about just test driving all the different EVs. Go out there and sign up for these test drives. And so we're looking forward to that. We're going to be recording those because a lot of times she'll get on and people love to hear what she thinks because she's very direct. And but yeah, the Rivian, I actually I like it. I did during a road trip though. I had a like I ran into somebody that had a problem with theirs. They basically bricked it because they ran it out of juice and they were not able to plug it in at a charger. They got it towed to a charger and they were not able to plug it in because I think they changed this now, but the original Rivians had I think two 12-volt batteries, so you're not able to jump that with a normal 12-volt thing. So there, and then but they plugged up a big F1 or F-350 truck and plugged in charging cables, and their jumper cables came out the back by the tow hitch, and they had to plug it in there. It was so weird. It was so weird. So there's some weird stuff with the Rivians, but overall, I like the range is good. The speed is great. They're great little cars. But I need to test drive one. So I've just stuff that I've read about them. So what do you think about them?
Yeah, they're quick as heck, man. They do have, I think they do still have the two 12-volt batteries. I know there was a whole thing about you can't switch them out yourself.
Oh yeah, you can. It's like buried way underneath the front trunk. It's like it's crazy.
And there's an error code that only Rivian can clear, and it's like $700. And
yeah,
kind of like we talked about at the start of the show, like I went through so many 12-volt demons on my first truck and had to switch them out and play with it so much. And I have so much PTSD around the 12-volt battery that I would definitely want a vehicle that I can get to the 12-volt battery on myself.
Yeah.
Because that is such a common thing, unfortunately, that you want to be able to pull and reset your 12-volt battery. There's a number of reasons that the Rivian doesn't really work for me so well, and I'm not really inclined to it. First of all, it's a great vehicle, and the R1T isn't necessarily the right vehicle for me, but I do have an R2 reservation. So I'm pretty excited about the R2 myself. But the R1T for a truck doesn't work because one, I'm a wide dude, and the R1T is not a wide truck, and so if you've ever been in the seats of an R1T, it is designed for it's a very hugging kind of seat, and is a form-fitting seat, and it's great if you are a tech bro kind of R1T driving athletic, a Rivian type, outdoorsy type person. I'm not the type of person that's going to be out there hiking and biking and out there outdoor adventuring necessarily.
Yeah.
And the type of person that's more athletic and probably is out there outdoor adventuring probably sits in that seat a little bit more comfortably than I do. And and the other thing with it is the back seat is not as there's not as much leg room in the back seat for the kids. And importantly for me, it does not have 240 volts out. And when I was looking at an electric truck being here in California, where we would have rolling blackouts and earthquakes and different types of things here, I had at the time a propane generator that would back up my house for power. And it was really important that I be able to plug my truck into my house. So having 240 volts out is, kind of a non-negotiable. I have to
Right.
have one vehicle that can do that. Um, Now I've got that with the Lightning, so my other vehicle can be an R2, for example, which would be like an SUV. It doesn't need to have the 240 out. That's going to be, probably what eventually we look at something like that, maybe, and that's going to have the autonomy and that type of possibilities down the road. So I think that's more what we would look at is an R2, more than an R1T. But
Yeah.
if I was somebody that was of smaller stature width wise, and if I was outdoorsy, and if I had that kind of budget too, man, because the R1T is a pretty pricey truck, and if I was going to be driving in a city, for example, it fits better in San Francisco. It fits better in the parking garages. It can make U-turns. If I needed that type of off-road capability, it's got a much better angle of approach if I was going to be doing, but I don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So just for a number of reasons, it doesn't fit my lifestyle or use case for an electric truck. It's a phenomenal truck, and it
Yeah.
does a lot of things the Lightning doesn't do. It's just none of what I would do with the truck.
Yeah, it does seem like a good thing. The other downside to the Rivian that I've heard anyways, is some of the one of the benefits of having an EV is the maintenance, the zero to no maintenance cost. And Rivians, I've heard, they have burned through tires quickly or brakes, or like if you take it into Rivian for service, there have been some people that have reported, not everybody, but there have been some people that have reported some pretty expensive maintenance things with the Rivian.
I
Um,
feel like I feel like that might be a combination of people having those quad motors or tri motors and kind of laying into their foot a little bit, and having those all-terrain tires versus our Lightnings that have kind of street tires. I think there might be some different things about that as well. And Um, so some of that might be the users, because some people go through tires based on how they drive. And then
yeah,
also with the Lightnings, we've got dual motors that evenly pretty evenly distribute how they pull the truck. And I think the Rivian's a bit different in the way that they have that quad motor situation or the tri motor. Dual
yeah.
motor, I bet. If you had a dual motor with street tires, now I'm not a Rivian owner, but I'd be curious if any Rivian motor owners are out there, what their experience is.
Yeah, and ask any questions y'all have. Here's one. What do you gentlemen think about the possibly losing the frunk with the E-Rev? I think it is a horrible thing if we lose the front trunk. Like I cannot tell you how many times. Like matter of fact, I don't know if there's a single time that I have not used the front trunk when I take it on a drive. I'll put my bag in there with my laptop, with taking it off to work. Some of you guys have seen the live stream where I cook pancakes in there. I take it and I use it like camping. I have a microwave up there right now, and anytime like I've done road trips, I'll pop some popcorn whenever I'm at a charging stop. I've done all kinds of stuff with that front trunk, and I use the cooler. So that is a big, that would be a big thing if we lose that. Which honestly, I don't know how we won't. I don't know how they're going to put a generator in the new E-Rev. And those of you that are just joining, that's what we're discussing. We're discussing the Lightning being canceled. And in case you didn't know, they're announcing that they're going to come out with an E-Rev. There was reports of 2027 or 28, but no specs have been announced, no nothing. And so we're not even sure exactly when it's going to come out. But when it does come out, we're speculating that we might lose the front truck, or it'd be a whole lot smaller.
Yeah, I was trying to. I was curious. The thing I always compare E-Revs to, and then I was going to start to looking up here if I could find it real quick online, is the Bronco in China. They have an E-Rev Bronco.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and they do have a frunk in the Chinese version of the Bronco, and I feel like if they could do it, I'm going to try to pull it up here if I can share the screen. Let's see how crafty I can get here with this. See how fancy I can get. Here we go. Here we go. Is it working? Oh, you know what? I think because I'm not a host, I think you
Yeah, I'll add it there.
can you see
There we
that there?
go.
There you go. And so
Yep.
you can see this is I'm gonna mute that there, but that is the front trunk of the Bronco plug-in hybrid in China. So this is an E-Rev, and this is and this is all made in China by a Chinese manufacturing partner. This is not a Ford manufactured by Ford. You know, it's a Ford branded Chinese vehicle. But and it's not the size of the Bronco that we have here in America. It fits between the Bronco Sport and the proper Bronco that we would know. But yeah, it's an E-Rev, and so hopefully they've learned from their Chinese partners. And here you've got an E-Rev with a frunk. Now this is different because this is a Bronco, so it's not meant to tow. And one of the things you can feel free to stop sharing that one there.
Okay.
But one of the things that's the case with Scout is Scout has an all electric version that tows 10,000 pounds, and they have an E-Rev version that only tows 5,000. Because in order for them to have the frunk available on the Scout, they have placed the E-Rev motor back near the bed of the truck, and that made it
Oh,
so they couldn't tow as much because that motor is sitting there near the tailgate somewhere, and that took away from the tongue weight for them to be able to tow. Now maybe there's a different way
hmm.
to engineer that to put that motor maybe more in the center, because the battery's not a full, depending on the size of the battery and the weight of the battery, maybe you can put that motor somewhere as like a mid-engine. So you have a
Yeah.
mid-engine, maybe that will allow you to still maintain your towing. We don't know the details. Ford did not say much in terms of the battery size, the battery chemistry, the towing capacity. There's a lot of unknowns about this vehicle right now. So but for me, again, the frunk is one of those things where they really made their bread and butter on the frunk, and it would be a shame if they didn't continue what I think is one of the highlights of the Lightning. I think it's critical that it have a frunk, and I think it's critical that it be powered.
Yeah.
I think that the reason that people don't use their frunks in the Tesla very much or the Mach E very much, and the reason that they're used so often in the Lightning is because it's powered. We power our tailgates. We power our the back of our SUVs, right? And they're used when they're powered. They want them to open for them. It sounds like a little small thing, but they will not use their frunk if it's not powered, is my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. Like on the Teslas, uh, like we have the Model S, and I've heard you can get a kit where you can make it powered,
Yep.
but we don't have that right now. So it is a little bit annoying, because it was our first Tesla that we had. We just tried to close it like we used to with other ones, and it kind of slammed down. And it's like, wait a second, that's not what we're supposed to do. But the fact that you kind of close it, you let it down, and then you kind of have to still press it. I kind of feel like I'm gonna break it or something. So yeah, that's not the best design from Tesla, but we might do that. But yeah, so who knows what's gonna happen with the front trunk. But I love mine, and I do hope that they figure out a way to keep it. My guess is they'll either They'll either get rid of it entirely, or they'll get rid of enough size of the battery where they can fit it underneath, is what you're suggesting. Um, so we'll see. Yeah, but um, that's one of the things that I wanted to bring up, that there's still no specs with this,
None.
but
Yep.
and one of the things that was disappointing to me through this whole thing is, and y'all discussed this a little bit yesterday too, but there was, to me, I know they were losing money, but they were already set up and ready to go with the 2026s.
Yeah.
And to me, there was no reason to actually get rid of it. I think they hurt themselves canceling it because like probably a better option, I'll just go there. Probably a better option would be to still keep it going, but develop this eRev alongside of it. And then so that way you're still getting the lightning cells, you're still building up all of this, you know, all this excitement about a new version, kind of like Scout has right now. And they're like, and then you can actually see, is the market there for it. Plus, I don't know the exact stats, I don't have them in front of me, but there are, on average, I think people get a new vehicle about every 3 to 5 years. So what Ford did is, by canceling and ending it at 2025, is you have all of these Ford Lightning owners that bought them in 22, bought the very first ones, and even mine in 23, that we would probably be upgrading ours around 27, 26. Like, so you're looking at, you're getting rid of a lot of the potential market right there. And they sold about 100,000 of them. So within a few years, like, everybody that I have talked to that has had an extended range Lightning loves it, and we're either going to get a new one or keep theirs forever. And you said you had the standard range battery, so there were a lot of people like yours originally that I talked to. Some of them were just frustrated with the Lightning because they also had some battery issues too. So the standard range battery was the one that had a lot more issues than normal. Um,
I
than
had
the extended range did. So.
Yeah, I early on had a battery module failure. And I've got that, just that long history. And Ford, to their credit, they they did a great job taking care of me. So I've got no complaints with Ford. And I documented and posted stuff on X and in the Facebook groups. But um very early on, I had a battery module failure in it, and they had engineers come and look at it and talk to the technician. It was the first time the technician out here had ever had one of those and looked at it, and they worked closely with them. And then Ford, to their credit, extended my warranty. So I ended up with a 6 year, 70,000 mile warranty on my original truck, which I was super excited about because, again, I think there was someone here in the chat, I believe. Yeah, right here. Electrified Overlanding talked about, I purchased my Lightning Flash. I still plan on keeping it for 7 years. That was my mindset too. I was like, hey, I'm going to have a 6 year, 70,000 mile warranty. This is great. And
Yeah.
so I was totally on board with it. And then as time went on, it just ended up having a 12-volt problem. They ended up replacing 12-volt batteries, replacing the 12-volt wire harness. They replaced the 12-volt wire harness twice. The rear tail light bar, I don't think it ever got put in right. A bunch of other problems started happening. It just cascaded from there and had a whole lot of demons, so it got swapped out. So yeah, ended up going, to the extended range, but that's a rare. I mean, what I experienced is not normal. I want to be clear, but every step of the way, Ford took care of me and was really gracious. And some stuff there at the end got a little bit tricky because it got a lot of attention, and I was always in that weird spot where I was very transparent, and more so than I think Ford would have appreciated. Ford didn't, wasn't always happy with how transparent I was, but I thought
Yeah.
it was very important that I be transparent, so that you could trust when I said the good things that they were honestly good. I thought it was
Yeah.
important that I also be transparent about when they were honestly frustrating. Um, and I think one, I love this name, by the way. Above average underachiever is one of the greatest names I've ever seen. He's
There we go.
he's talking about he's leasing a 25 XLT Lightning. He was pretty sure he's going to purchase. The lease is up. Now I'm having second thoughts. I just put a video out today. It's late in the night now, but over the weekend, if you have a chance, check out Bow Family EV, and I talk about this very thing. When your lease comes up, you're gonna have a residual that's probably higher than what it's worth. But this will be an opportunity. I probably wouldn't buy it. You having a lease is probably a very good thing. You're going to be in a very above average, overachieving situation for yourself. So
Yeah.
congratulations, man. You made a wise choice, because, like you were saying, Mike, most people only keep their vehicle on average for 3 years. We think we're going to keep them for 7, but life happens, an accident happens. Um, Lifestyle changes. Maybe you have kids, maybe you move, circumstances, technology with these EVs change. You end up switching out well before 7 years, 5 years, whatever it's going to be. So you sign a lease like this, and it turns out, here's a perfect example of it. I would, I would, I would guess for, I would guess for sure, if that makes sense, which it doesn't, that his residual is going to be way higher than the truck is worth. And so then he's going to be able to turn that right back into Ford.
Yeah.
And then he's going to be able to then take and potentially buy it back at a heavy discount, way less than the
Yes.
residual was. And that's the dealer's problem then, or find another one out there and find a great deal on it. And I think there's going to be, maybe even not an XLT, you might be able to find a Lariat out there for far less than the residual. And I wouldn't shy away from them, because I think you got to remember, these things are going to be supported for 10 years. There's 100,000 of them out there. There's people that are going to be able to repair these. 70% of the parts on these trucks are just like the gas F-150s. So I wouldn't shy away, but you've got 3 years to figure out what you want to do and what technology is going to change. But yeah, I talk about all this stuff on the video I did today, exactly these things, exactly all of this, that Ford's going to cover it for 10 years. You still have an 8-year, 100,000-mile warranty on all of this stuff for the battery and the powertrain and this kind of stuff. So yeah, for now, man, I would enjoy the hell out of your XLT, drive the wheels off of it, and man, enjoy it. That's my opinion, man.
Have fun with it. It's
Yeah.
it really is a great truck. And the other thing that I was going to add to it, you guys should check out that video. I watched most of it before before we went live. That's really good information about purchasing and leasing and what you should do. But I always recommend, at least in the last year, probably not when I bought this one. If I would have thought about it originally, I would have probably, if I would have known about all this, I probably would have leased my truck. But what we've discovered is that EVs have had a pretty significant hit on value. So what happens with what's better in that case is to actually do a lease. As long as you're not going to drive a bunch of miles or anything like that, then yeah, it is probably better to lease them. I like that I did buy mine, because now I can just drive as much as I want. I have right now at this moment 71,411.5 miles.
You did not
So
want to lease that, Mike. That is
no,
not.
no, I wouldn't have driven that much if I would have leased it. But I've taken a lot of road trips, and I love this thing. And I'll give y'all a hint, because I did do a video recently trying to say which one do I choose between the Tesla and the Ford to take on a 4,000-mile road trip. And we went over for Thanksgiving. I did record it, but I ended up choosing to take the Lightning and spending $600 on charging as opposed to free charging instead of the Tesla, because it's just really, really comfortable for a road trip. I love it. And then we were able to work with the Wi-Fi, and I even did a test. I don't know if you've done this yet, Chris, but there have been a lot of people. Even there's other great YouTube channels. Y'all should check them out, like Out of Spec and some other ones. They've done a lot of tests, but I'm just average guy testing here. I'm not with a bunch of computerized equipment and everything. Although I did buy a OBD port reader, the OBD link thing.
Yeah. Yep.
And I just bought it and I've been trying to get it to work, but apparently it works better with a PC and I don't have a PC. So I got to figure that one out.
You can
But
just get the app on your cell phone. Get
okay.
Car Scanner. Get Car Scanner on your cell phone, and you can get some basic readings and stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, do you have Android Auto or do you use Apple CarPlay?
I use Apple CarPlay. Yeah.
It's awesome. If so, get Car Scanner, and you can actually get it to come up on your screen.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah. So I'll do some.
Really cool.
Yeah, I'll do some videos about that. So I don't have all of the specialized stuff that they do and everything, but I love doing real world tests. And so I did a real world test of, so there's a lot of people that have an opinion of just stopping and charging for just a short amount of time and then not letting it go past 80% or whatever, even if you need a little bit more. And, to go and stop for another 15, 20 minutes or something like that. So on this road trip, you'll see it on the video whenever I do release it. As soon as I can get a chance to edit it, I'll get it released. But give you a little hint. They actually, I did a test between what that was like stopping for like 50 minutes and charging all the way up to almost like 90% or something like that versus stopping for 15 minutes. I'm doing that in quotes twice. And the reason why I was doing it in quotes is it actually ended up taking about 20 something minutes to charge, maybe a little bit longer. But then I started a stopwatch. I added the time to pull off for that extra stop and everything. And it all added up to be about an hour for 2 stops versus like 55 minutes for one. So I don't know. It was just real world things that I was doing with my truck, and the reason why I did that is that's why I brought the truck so I could actually take a little bit longer and drive that. And we didn't have to stop as much, and it was a really cool experience. It was about 3,800, 3,700 miles on the truck, but yeah, so 71,411, and I have I'm about to do another test, but I'll just tell you now, like it's been fairly cold, not that bad. It's been in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and
Yeah, how cold is it right there, man? Where in Colorado are you? I think you were
I'm in Colorado Springs. I'm
Oh,
in
Colorado
Colorado
Springs.
Springs,
Okay.
but I have a heated garage, so it doesn't like stay like super warm, but I keep it about in the 40s or 50s. So with all of this equipment here, it's a little bit hotter. So right here, right now is 51, and it's, it gets down to 30s or something like that. But I charged it up to 100% again because I do that every once in a while. And I had 160 miles and I still have 54% of the battery left, and which is really good. And then it got down to it started getting a little colder, so it impacted a little bit. I had 229 miles and I had 29% of the battery left, and then I ended up charging it because I don't really like to get it much lower than that, because I use it as a backup and everything like that. So it still does really, really well for me, even in the cold weather. Like I said, I just got that OBD port reader. I don't know the exact degradation in the battery, but it really doesn't seem like any at all.
I
So
bet it's not much at all, man. Yeah,
yeah,
these things are so robust and so well designed, and so many people have said that they hold up really well. And that's one thing about the Lightning compared to, like, the Teslas. It's not uncommon at all for them to lose 10-15%. And same thing with charging. The Lightning charging is a nice flat curve, stays up there pretty well. Whereas the
yeah,
Teslas, you do need to do that kind of, charge to 50-60% and then get moving. They're designed to be that way. And the Lightning is designed that you really do kind of want to just let it go to 70-80%. you can even let it go to 90 to your point, and then,
Mm-hmm.
move on. The Volkswagen Buzz is another one. Those two are very similar to each other. And it's sad, the Buzz got announced that in the US they were going to discontinue selling the ID Buzz. And it's sad because I think they're so
Wow.
similar to one another.
Yeah, I was going to be testing one of those out, so I guess not now, but
Well,
maybe there's
they're still available to be tested.
yeah.
You should still absolutely go do them. I think I think they both suffer from the same problem, which is that they both need to go about 100 miles further, and they both need to be about $10,000 to $15,000 less.
Mm-hmm.
That's another comment that I made in the video today, because it was funny. It got announced as I was there making the video, and right behind me at the dealer were two Volkswagen Buzz vans, and
Oh
so
wow.
I took the time to mention it because it struck me how similar. I think they both make you smile. They're both so much fun to be in. They're both fun to road trip, but both of them make you wish that they had just like 100 extra miles, and both make you wish they just cost $10,000 or $15,000 less. And you'd be really excited, and they would sell so many more if there was just those two things.
Yeah, the cost, that was a big deal. That was a big deal, I think. Like, I mean, I'll go on record and say this. I think that's one of the biggest things that cause the problem with the Lightning cells is I don't know if I would go as far as saying bipolar, but it was a little bit and I'm kind of like you. I'll just be honest. I'm just going to tell you the positives and the negatives on what I like. And the pricing variation on these lightnings, man, made just put a sour taste in everybody's mouth towards Ford and the Lightning and what they're going to be doing for the future. Because when they announced it, if you recall, I think it was going to be around a $40,000 truck is what they were announcing. And so I'm like, okay, that's probably going to be the basic truck. So I'm expecting, because I usually like mid tier, and I like the Lariat or the Platinum. Platinum's the premium one, but I was planning on getting a Lariat in the beginning. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll spend about 60 grand or something like that. That's kind of what I was expecting. And then when they announced it, or when they came out with it, for my experience was a little bit different than other people. I probably got one of the first 23s. I got it December 9th of 2022. And when I found out it was coming, I was like, "Oh wow, this is awesome." Because they were like, "Well, you're getting a 23 instead of a 22." I was excited, and then they announced, and then they told me they're like, "Oh, by the way, the 23s cost about $7,000 more than the 22s," and I'm like, "What?" And so
Did you have any deletes on yours? Because some of the
I
23s
did,
had deletes. Yeah, what
I
did you have
did.
deleted?
So the onboard scales are deleted, and the steering wheel was deleted. They got that fixed. I brought it back in as a recall thing.
The
Um,
heated steering.
yeah, the heated steering, not
Yeah.
the steering wheel. Steering wheel
Yeah,
was
yeah.
there, but the heated steering. And then I had an accidental delete. I did a video about this, but I had the locking under seat storage in the back, but they forgot to put the locks in, and so I had to go back to Ford. I didn't even know it for like more than a year, almost 2 years. I didn't, because I just didn't use it. And whenever I was going to use it on a trip, I was like, oh, they're just holes. And I was trying to figure it out. So I had to, but let's see what else. Oh, the other thing that they did is I wanted the power running boards, but they didn't have that as an option. So I had to get the standard running boards, and so it would only been like $200 for me to add them or something. But then now to get the aftermarket is probably going to be about 12 or 1500 or something. So yeah, they took that away, and then I believe there was one more thing, but I forgot what that was. But
Yeah, and it's so funny because that was another part that really and it's little things like that that just kind of plagued the Lightning all the way
mm-hmm,
through. Early on, you had a lot of issues. You had 300,000 reservations early. Um, and it was supposed to be a $40,000 Pro, and $55,000 XLTs. Now the Pro is what the XLT was supposed to cost.
yeah,
And then you had dealers marking stuff up severely, and that really hurt and a lot of people dropped out of it at that point. And then you had the deletes, and you had things like the scales went away, the heated steering went away, all the stuff you mentioned. And then things would come back, and you would have things like they would come back in 24, and then like in my case in 25, the bed scales were gone again in 25. Like my Platinum doesn't have scales, and I don't have the
Really?
underseat. Yeah, no scales on the 25, no underseat storage on the 25, but I do have the massaging seats. But
Okay.
Jace has a Platinum in 24. It does have the bed scales, but it doesn't have the massaging seats.
Yeah,
And
so
then
someone was asking me about that. They were saying, would I recommend a 23 Platinum or a 23 XLT or something? And I told them, you got to look at that with the Platinum and the Lariats and 23s. They started deleting some of that stuff. And I think the massaging seats were taken away in some of the 23s, even in the Platinums and the 24s for some reason.
yeah, so you really got to look at it, you know. And
Yeah.
then like my headrest doesn't have speakers in it, but other Platinums do have speakers in the headrest. Now I don't care about any of that.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, I would have been perfectly happy with the Lariat. I would have preferred, honestly, the Lariat. It's just happened that the best price was on the Platinum, which sounds backwards. But
Yeah.
you know, that just happened to be where the deal was. So I went with the deal. You mentioned the retractable running boards. Mine had the retractable running boards. But when Jace got his had the retractable running boards, but his are different. He's got an extra button that mine don't have. He has a button that lets his retractable running boards come down manually. I don't have that button. So
Right.
there's odd little quirks and
Yeah.
features and things that are different from year to year, and deletes and things like that. It's so strange.
But what that does though, as you were saying, that really kind of puts us, I mean, we are just talking about, like, puts a sour taste in people's mouths with that. It's like, you have the weird things, but then you look at the gas models and you're not getting some of the same things. They may have deleted the onboard scales. I'm not sure on that one, but there's several of the gas models. You don't have the gas model Platinums that are deleting the massaging seats or anything
Yeah,
like that. So
I don't
that's
think gas models have the like the do the gas models have the open center console, the lay flat console
I
on the
bel I don't know. I don't know that. Actually, that's a good question. I'm
and
not
so
sure.
the reason I asked that is that my center console is actually broken, and
Oh no.
they yeah, so Ford had to order me a new one, and the one that showed up was for the gas, not the gas, yeah, it was the gas Platinum, and
Okay.
it didn't have the opening, and instead of being kind of black in the middle, it was brown. And I was tempted to have the only Platinum with a brown trim,
That'd be
except
funny.
it didn't open. So
Yeah.
it was longer,
Uh-huh.
because it doesn't have the piece that folds it open. And I was tempted, and then I was like, oh, but it doesn't fold open. Never mind. But I was tempted to have the only one in existence with brown. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know if the Platinums don't have it.
I think
And
they're built different because I was looking it up because I was going to get a in console fridge and do
wouldn't
that,
fit.
show that on the channel. But when I was trying to order one, there wasn't one that would fit the Lightning. So I think it is a little bit of a different design. But I love the open thing. I'm actually have my laptop on there right now, and it's actually a real awesome thing. But yeah, you're right. So the deletes really cause the sour taste in people's mouths, and then the changing of the prices did.
You know what else
It,
is different on mine? I don't have park assist. My truck cannot park itself. Um,
yes, that is correct. They got rid of that for all of the F-150s, starting with the 24. So I have that,
yeah,
and I actually recorded a video the first time using it. But the Ford CEO Jim Farley actually got on and was talking about that, or he posted something. Uh, but he's saying that it actually, um, they did I don't know how they tested it. Maybe they have access to all of them, but they did some kind of. They were saying that only like 4% of the people, or
used
some
it.
crazy low number, used it. So they're like, why are we spending $20 extra a unit or whatever it is? so why don't we save some money there? The thing they did get rid of, though, that I don't like, but you told me you got to keep yours because you got Jim to sign it, is the, I don't, is the home link thing that's on the, that opens up your garage and everything. Man, that is like the best, but they got rid of it. So,
I don't have the home link one because he signed my passenger visor.
oh
Um,
no. Okay.
yeah. So I didn't have him sign my driver's side visor because I didn't want to be using the one that he signed all the time.
Okay.
So I had him sign my passenger visor on my original one, and I did remove it. But with that said, if you like the home link, you can go to fordparts.com and it's the same part. You can just order the one that what year do you have? Yours doesn't have
I
the home link? You have the
No,
23 or
mine
does it have
does. I have the
yours does?
2023. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
So
mine does. Yeah.
I am pretty sure I'd have to check with Martin, but I am pretty sure, and I actually plan to do it. I'm pretty sure that I can order the visor from the 2023 and put it into my 25, and it's a direct swap. I'm almost positive
Oh
it'll
yeah.
swap directly in there, and I'll find out as soon as I take my 23 passenger side one, and if it swaps, it's still in a box. I haven't done it yet. No reason. I've just been lazy. Um,
Yeah.
I need to swap it into the passenger side of my Platinum, and I'm pretty sure it's a direct swap. And if it is a direct swap, that means the other one will be too. And I'll just go and literally just order the part number from the 23. It'll show up with the home link, and now you have a home link in your 25. It's this
Yeah.
because again
So
they
it's
support these part numbers for 10 years, so it's just a matter of you going and ordering the part.
Yeah. So to that point, for everybody who's listening on this, like if there is something that is not, so the first point is make sure you double check to see what deletes have happened, what changes have happened. If your vehicle, the one that you're wanting, doesn't have some of these things like home link, there may be an easy way to actually get that. Um, but I was going to tell you too on the other thing with prices. I don't know if you remember this or not, but what they did on the prices is after they increased mine, so I got it in December, so I ended up paying 81. So I haven't announced that yet, but I paid 81 for my truck. Now I still got the tax credit because it was before January 1st. So
Oh,
that
good
so
job.
so that was good. But so but I kind of gave that tax credit to Ford if it makes, because they had increased it about that same amount, so they ended
Oh,
up getting it. And then but what happened was is then right after that, the new law that went in place with the taxes where you couldn't take a tax credit if it was over 80 grand. So then the MSRP anyways. But then what happened is then Ford's like, oh, we're not selling these things, we need to start dropping the price. So then they dropped the prices again. I think that was around May or June they really started dropping the prices again. So it was a lot of like just up and down with the prices, instead of just like, here's the price, now we offer discounts when we have too many, so, and then all these deletes like what you're saying. So there's a little bit of bad taste in people's mouths. But saying all that to say, because I'm normally a really positive guy, this is probably the most negative you'll hear from me. But but I love the truck. I mean, they did an amazing job with the truck. Like, I don't have hardly any issues, with the exception of all of the recalls. That was kind of a weird thing. I had probably about 14 recalls, and there's still an open recall for that light bar that you're talking about on the back. Um, and what they did with that, and this was from the Ford. I went and talked to my Ford dealer. So this is not Ford, but this is the service rep at the Ford dealer that told me this. So Ford, if you're watching, don't get mad at me. This is what they told me. What they did, because this was already a recall. So basically now it's a recall of a recall. But when they recalled it before, I'm like, oh, okay. Mine didn't have a problem. I'll just take it in because it's a recall. I want to get it fixed. So the service department service advisor told me what they did during that recall with a lot of these is they replaced them with the same bad parts. And I was like, are you serious? It's like I would have, if I would have known that, if I would have known it was the same part, then then I would have not even gotten anything done. But now, now it's
You're talking about the
you know,
light bar now.
yeah, the light
Yeah,
bar on
yeah.
the back, yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to give some opinions.
Okay,
I think first I'm going to give you 3 opinions.
okay,
First thing is it's corporations in general, I think, do themselves a disservice by not being fully transparent. And I think people in general would respect a lot more if they would just be fully transparent. And there are people that will overreact in life. And I think you ignore those people. I think screw those
yeah,
people. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
think
dude, that's great.
reasonable people would love for people to just be transparent. And I think corporations don't want to be that way, and they want to double speak, and they want to massage language, and they just don't want to put it out there. And I think we would respect people a lot more if they would.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
and I think Ford and every corporation does this. And I'm not faulting Ford for PR spinning and for not being fully transparent with stuff. And that being said, I think my understanding from talking to different people, and I don't know this for a fact, because they're not transparent, because this isn't written somewhere and released somewhere, I'm having to go off of conversations, and these conversations are imperfect. And so this might, I can't say this for a fact. I'm just saying this from some other conversations I've had. I think there is a chance that there's nothing physically wrong with the light bar. And so when you hear that they just simply use the same part, I think that's because the problem didn't occur with a physical defect in the light bar. The problem occurred with the installation of the light bar. And what would happen
Yes,
was
yeah,
during the installation, a micro fracture or a crack would occur. And they discovered this. And so the idea was that the same light bar was perfectly fine, but they decided there was a better way to install it that would prevent this micro fracture from happening. And the recall was because a certain number of them installed a certain way would incur a micro fracture that would allow this to then get this condensation to come into it. And that
hmm,
condensation would eventually short things out and cause these problems. So then they put in this new recall of how to install it differently. It's the same part, but it's
yeah.
installed differently. Well, then it turns out that that new way to install it also still causes micro fractures, and so now there's
Oh man,
a third recall. And now this recall again, because they're not transparent, I don't know if this is a different way to install it, even still, or is this truly a new part or a new part and a different installation. Nobody knows because again,
yeah.
they're not transparent about it. So it would be helpful if they were just transparent. Um,
Yeah, and I recommend with recalls, unless it's a safety issue, just if yours is working, unless it's a safety issue, probably don't go in. But mine actually, a piece of it is totally out now. So it does have
yeah,
condensation in there, and I think it got worse in the winter. So,
yeah, and it can lead because all those 12-volt things are interconnected.
hmm,
It can lead to other problems, and so one of the things that happened in my circumstance is um, I brought my truck in for the recall to have that condensation addressed, and directly after that occurred, I had started having 12-volt issues. And because those 12 volts are all, in the same logic and they can seep into other problems, it's hard to know, did something get pinched? Did something get shorted? And it just has a way of, who the heck knows.
yeah,
You can even add the light bar to the Pro. Just need Forescan. Yeah, yeah, you can.
yeah.
There are all kinds of great modifications out there that I've seen in Forescan. Martin is a genius at the Forescan stuff, man. He actually came out on my truck when he was in town, and with Forescan added added matrix headlight function, which is only available in Canada. So my
Oh,
headlights now have the matrix function.
that would
Um,
be great. I heard some people telling me to do that, and I'm just like, okay. Now I've heard you can do forescan with this OBD link thing, but
That one
I think
does
you have
need
to
a
have a
laptop.
PC. Yeah.
You have to have, yeah. And Martin doesn't recommend you do it wirelessly because if it loses connection, you can really brick your truck.
Oh no.
So
Okay.
he recommends that you really do the hard cable through your OBD2 port to your computer. Don't do it wirelessly. Then you need your laptop to do that. And there's hexadecimal code. And you have to do a certain line. Now you save everything, and so if something
Yeah.
does go wrong, you can restore your settings. But that going back to the Rivian conversation earlier, one of the things that we do as a family is we take the truck to the drive-in movies that we
Yeah.
have, and we have
That's
an
great.
inflatable bed that's back there, and we lay back there and we watch the drive-in movies. And the Rivian's not nearly wide enough or big enough to be able to fit the family in the back of the bed for the drive-ins. But one of the other things that you can activate in ForeScan is what's called silent mode. And what that allows you to do is it's an added feature in there so that when we open the doors of the truck, none of the lights turn on. So when you're at the drive-in, you can open your doors and none of the lights will illuminate.
Oh, that's
Um,
great.
so if you're camping and you want to keep the
Yeah.
lights off and you're at the drive-in, so there's that function. You can also have it default so that like right now, for example, if I don't, you have to click the button to make it not turn the truck off after 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You can flip it in ForeScan to make it default to where it never turns the truck off unless you can flip it to which logically the other way, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, no. So I may be driving to Kansas and talking
talking to Martin,
Mark,
yeah.
Martin, and it just like, hey, I'm on a road trip here. Can you fix it all up for me?
He's there's all kinds of other functions in there as well. So yeah, there's this ForeScans. It's great. You know, there's all these cool things you can do with it. Do the same thing in the Mach-E. There's other things in the Mach-E you can do as well.
Yeah.
So ForeScan is one of those cool, fun tools that are there. I saw a comment in here from I think it scrolled down here. Where was it? And I don't know if he's still watching, but Aloha Smitty was talking about leaving on a trip. He's out here in Sacramento, north of where I am. In a few hours, he's going to be taking a road trip. In a few hours, by the way, Smitty, bro, have you been sleeping all day? Because that's a late night trip, man.
Yeah.
But he's going to be taking a road trip down, I presume, I-5, straight down from Sacramento down to Las Vegas. That's a great drive, man. I've done that drive a few times. I did it in my standard range. I've got a video on that as well, where I took a standard range Lightning from the Bay Area straight down I-5 over to Vegas for ACT Expo. And yeah, that's an absolutely doable drive, 100%. It's not a big problem at all. So yeah, Aloha, if you're still on, man, I'd love to know what your charging plan is. In my case, I think I stopped at Harris Ranch, and then I cut over at Bakersfield, I think, over to Mojave, and then Mojave, I went over to. I'm drawing a blank on the city that's out there, and then that took me straight up to Vegas. But it depends on the wind. But yeah, I'm totally drawing a blank on the place after Mojave that I stopped. It's a big charger. But yeah, I'm curious if you're still in the chat, like what your charging plan is for that. But yeah, I saw that in there. I was really curious about that. That's a cool, fun drive. I like doing that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just to that point. That's one of the other benefits on the Lightning is just, we talked about it a little bit already, but just road tripping in the Lightning.
Great road trip.
Oh my gosh, it's the best. It really is the best road trip vehicle. I figured out like you could actually drive quite far, especially if you find hotels with charging. If with the extended range battery, I charge it up to 100% at the hotel, and I only have to stop once or twice, probably twice to get to whatever the next hotel is, and you schedule those around meal times, and it really isn't that big of a deal. Like, it'll go pretty far on 100%. I mean, you're stopping, I guess, road tripping. I've gotten, just depends on the speed, I guess, speed and terrain and weather, but you're probably going to be getting about 240, 250, sometimes 230, depending on how fast you're going. I have gotten 280 on a road trip, but that was because it was a lot of traffic and it was just stuck behind a truck like half the time or something like that. So,
It's funny you mentioned that. I get excited when that happens because the whole
yeah,
time normally I would get frustrated, and now I'm like, oh, look at this efficiency.
yeah, it's great. It's like, wow, 2.7 on a on a road trip. This is awesome. But
Great shout
normally,
out by Alan, by the way. I didn't realize that. I don't know if you knew that.
let's say
Expedia under amenities, you can search for hotels with chargers. How did you find chargers when you were
PlugShare.
looking? PlugShare.
PlugShare was my is my main go-to. I planned. See, that was the other thing is I'm like a big planner. So I planned out these road trips so I would know exactly where I'm staying, exactly, and I would find the hotels that had multiple chargers because you don't want them to be filled up. And so I would yeah, I would plan that out. So PlugShare will give you all the information in a particular area. They're not very good for planning out a trip, um, but use other apps for that. And
Yeah.
yeah, so PlugShare, you would find the hotels, and it's those of you that don't know what PlugShare is, it's basically like the EV version of Gas Buddy, something like that. It's all ran by people post comments on there, they'll let you know. Sometimes you have to keep looking because sometimes charges that used to be free aren't anymore. There are some hotels that as you're traveling, it may seem like a free thing, but it'll be a Tesla destination charger, and it'll actually charge your account with Tesla. Sometimes there's a few that will do that. So you just have to look on PlugShare. It'll give you the information. Also, you can talk to the hotel and they'll tell you whether or not it's free. But yeah, I love that. You get the hotels that have free breakfast and free charging. That covers like a lot of your expense with the hotel.
F. Gonzalez talking about the biggest concern is with trade-in value, dealer warranty support. I wouldn't be concerned about dealer warranty support.
No.
They'll be good with that. The dealer is going to they're going to make their money back from Ford on the warranty, and the warranty is going to hold up just fine. And Ford is
Yeah.
committed to supporting these for 10 years, so you're fine with that. Your trade-in value, that is definitely one of those things that I talk about on the video that I just made today. I went to the dealer. I talked to the owner of a Ford dealer in Southern California that I know. I talked to the dealership in Tennessee, a dealership in Kansas, a dealership, two of them here in California, and just kind of got their different perspectives. And I think with the trade-ins, there's a legitimate concern with the trade-ins because what's going to happen is they're going to look at um, the folks that are out in the Midwest and the East where they can't move them very well. They're going to be hesitant to take a trade in because they know that they're going to have to put it to the auction house. They're not going to keep it on their lot because they can't move it. So they're going to use what's called MMR and the rating on the MMR. But they're going to need a few weeks to see what the auctions are bringing for the Lightnings. And those are dealer auctions, and the market is going to dictate what that gets. Now, my buddies out here in California, Southern and Northern California, they don't have a care in the world. They're like, man, I can put this thing on my lot and I'm going to sell it. My guy here had 10 of these things a couple weeks ago, and now he's got one. So they're going to take the trade in, and that's not going to be a problem for them. So they're using Kelly Blue Book, they're using the auction houses, but absolutely the market is going to dictate, and the market is going to slip a bit. And what I'm predicting is in these cases, what we've seen historically, when I look at these things in the past, and I use, in this case, I use some of the old, these Ford things that have just happened, the Edge, the Escape, the Fusion. I use some of these examples that we've had recently. Typically they take a dip and then they stabilize. And there's even some examples that I mentioned in the video of things that what happens is they even, in some cases where they have a use case for it. And I think the Lightning certainly qualifies, in my opinion, because it's a useful vehicle. I think
Yeah,
there
it
are
is.
vehicles that even appreciate over time because they do hold up well and they do provide value. And I think the Lightning is a vehicle that we could see that from. I think it'll dip, I think it'll stabilize, and I think over time it will even increase a little bit. So yeah, I do think when it comes to trade-in, there is a reason to be a little bit worried about that in the immediate. It's going to dip. If you have it, like we said earlier, drive the wheels off that thing, man.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't worry about warranty support. I think you're totally
No,
fine with
the
that.
warranty support, you should be fine on that. The dealers will always try to sell you their warranties too, and they will never advertise. By the way, they will never advertise Ford's extended warranty. which most people don't even know that Ford has one, but they actually do. You have to sign up for it before you get to 36,000 miles. I did not do it because I wasn't aware of it. Um, but I kept looking at it, and it actually looks like a pretty good option because it's like it keeps your same warranty up through the same 100,000 or 140,000 miles or whatever. So that might be a better option. And you can go to any dealer and have that serviced. So that's why I kind of recommend that too. So,
And I'll say too, just since F. Gonzalez is in Southern California, just something to note about California that is particular too, because he was talking about he's considering the Cybertruck and he loves his Lightning, and he says he's got 2 little kids. So I've got 2 kids as well. I've got I've got a son and a daughter. So just a couple things that I'll mention, and I don't say this because I hate the Cybertruck. By the way, I love the Cybertruck. I originally, sometimes people think that I don't like the Cybertruck. I just want to point out, do you guys see what's right here? That's a Cybertruck model. Like this is a Cybertruck, like the Hot Wheels Cybertruck. This thing's worth like $300, something ridiculous. I originally ordered the Cybertruck, or reserved it, I should say. So I've got videos on the Cybertruck. I think it's a great vehicle. But in your situation, as here in California, I don't know how it is in Colorado. In California, when you trade in or buy another vehicle, you have to pay the full sales tax on the new vehicle. In other states, you only have to pay the difference in the sales tax. Like if I've already paid the sales tax on the Lightning and then I go and get another vehicle, I don't have to pay the full sales tax in other states. I don't know if it's like that in Colorado.
yeah, Colorado, it's opposite. You pay just the difference. So
Just the
if I
difference,
was,
right?
yeah, if I was buying $100,000 truck and then I was trading in a 50,000, I would only pay 50,000, and I would only be taxed on the 50,000.
Yeah. So F. Gonzalez, here's the thing, man. You go and buy a Cybertruck, you're gonna have to pay. You've already paid the sales tax on your Lariat. You go and buy a Cybertruck, you're gonna have to pay all that sales tax again on an $80,000 Cybertruck. I would not recommend it, man.
No.
Whereas in other states, that's not as big of a hit. It's really hard in California to flip trucks all the time, big expensive trucks. So financially, that would be my first advice. Is I'd hesitate on that. Secondly, with kids, I'm telling you, the back seat area, go check it out. Go check out the back seat in the Cybertruck, and go check out the back seat in the Lariat. There is much more room for your kids to grow up and much more space in the back of the Lariat than there is in the back of the Cybertruck. Now, the back of the Cybertruck does have a big advantage of having the screen. The screen on the back there with YouTube and Disney Plus and all that stuff back in the Cybertruck is nice. That is the plus for road trips. But in terms of space for them to grow up into, there is much more space in the back of in the back of the Lightning. And then the last thing that I'll say in terms of kids in Southern California, because I used to live in Southern California for 4 years, the heat in Southern California, that Lariat sunroof where you have the retractable cover, right, that can cover it up, is a huge benefit. So, and of course the frunk. So when your kids go and start to, one, if you've got little kids and you put a stroller in there, if you're going to Costco and the use of that frunk, when your kids start to grow up and play sports and whatnot and things, I'm telling you that frunk is amazing. So all of those things to me are huge advantages that I still think for a family vehicle, all of those types of things, somebody in Southern California, all of those reasons, I would stick with your Lariat. I think you've got the right choice for a family vehicle. I don't think there's any reason for you to go Cybertruck. And I don't say that because I don't like the Cybertruck. I think the Cybertruck is great. I still think for the family, the Lariat is the better truck for you, man. So
Yeah, I am in 100% agreement. Yeah, the back seat, man, is like with the Lightning is so like it's so spacious. I mean, it really is. It's the same as the regular gas F-150s too. It's like it really is. Now, like I don't know if you agree with me on this or not, but you're talking about the Cybertruck. My wife and I, we didn't test drive it, but we got to sit in it and all that when they first came out. They were letting people sit in it and stuff, and so we went over to the Tesla dealership and did that. And man, it was like it surprised me how much it felt like an SUV rather than a truck. Like the back seat didn't have the room of a truck. The front seat was okay, but still, I felt the Lightning was more roomier.
It's
And
it's more narrow.
yeah.
The center console is more narrow, but it flips a U-turn like no other.
Oh
It
yeah.
drives
Yeah.
it drives much more like a car,
Yeah.
like an SUV. Exactly what you said.
Yeah.
And it is more like a unibody than a body on frame in that way. And so some people will drive that and it will feel more familiar in a lot of ways. If you're not, if you're not a truck driver, if you're not someone that's owned a truck, then the Cybertruck in a lot of ways will feel more familiar and it will feel more comfortable. And there's a lot of aspects of the Cybertruck that are more agile, especially if you're trying to navigate or tight corners and parking lots. It has FSD that the Lightning will never be able to compare to or in
No.
touch. There's some incredible things that the Cybertruck can do. The app is at a whole nother level, man. If you're doing 1 to 10 scale, I mean, the app that Tesla has is a 12 and Ford is a solid 4. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's
Yeah, Tesla is way beyond like software wise. That's what y'all were
yeah,
talking about in the podcast last night too.
yeah,
Like the software for it is way behind,
right.
and Tesla was way far ahead. F. Gonzalez, thank you very much. He says he follows both of us, and awesome content, and he'll keep watching. I appreciate that, you guys.
Yeah, you guys are awesome, man. There's
Yeah,
and Travis earlier, shout out to him saying, sending us some love, and
yeah,
Darkman24 also saying, hey.
yeah,
These chats are so cool, man, because when we
yeah.
make videos, it's only if somebody takes the time to comment and then we get to say something back. But a live chat is so cool, and
Yeah, it is. Hey,
so
Josh. I know Josh. Josh Snellgrove is on there. I know him.
there we go. That's
Yeah,
cool.
he's
Is that local? Is that local to you?
no, he's in Texas. So
Oh,
yeah,
cool, cool.
that's awesome. Hey, Josh. And yeah, it's I really love these things because especially interacting here because it's you get a lot of you get a lot of good like chat and stuff like that. So I will tell you this, because I did put this a little bit in one of my recent videos about the software. We were just talking about that. So I didn't know that they hired a special new software engineer that y'all were mentioning. And I was like, I didn't know this when I came up with I have a theory about what T3 means. And I know what it stands for. It's called Trust the Truck.
I
But
heard
I
that in
have
your
a,
video. Yeah.
oh yeah, you did. Okay, so I'll just tell everybody here. But I have a whole theory. This is just a theory. Okay. So I heard this a long time ago from Tesla owners, lots of Tesla owners actually, when they were like, you just trust the car. You trust the car. And so when Ford released their whole T3 trust the truck thing, it dawned on me. I'm like, oh, they're trying to mimic Tesla. They're trying to come up with a software based thing where you can just trust the truck. It'll guide you where you need to go. It'll do a lot of stuff for you. So that was my guess as to what that was going to mean. But I guess we'll never know because they canceled it. So um, I feel bad for that guy. When these really good guys get poached and then they get moved and they're like, oh, sorry, see ya. We don't really want to use you anymore. So
Yeah. So I think the trust the truck thing, it might have been a mistake. So it, I think it was as simple as the number one selling vehicle for like 4 decades has been the F-150.
yeah,
And I think in their minds, trust the truck was as simple as saying, hey, we're going to go electric. Trust, trust that the truck will bring us there.
yeah,
Um, and trust that if you put a good truck out there, that is the market. But truck drivers, they want a truck, man. They want the vroom vroom. They want
mm-hmm,
the big, heavy, you know, I don't know how old the audience is, but the Tim Allen, you know what I mean? Like Tim
yeah,
the Toolman Taylor. I want,
manly truck, yeah,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yeah,
And so there's a certain bit of that that needs to be out there for these trucks. And then, they're mixed politics, unfortunately, with it. And things got a little bit messy with the EV space. And so I think, and I think you only have to look at Rivian to see. I'm going to give you two examples, Rivian and Scout. So Rivian came out with the R1T first.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who I was listening to, but they made a fairly good point, and I'm like, okay, I'll accept that. Rivian, they said it was important for them to come out with the truck first because it established their bona fides as an adventure brand. So they needed to
Hmm.
come out with the truck. They needed to show that it was an off-road bona fides. They needed to show it was adventure. They needed to have the credibility of it. Now that they did that, they came out with the R1S,
Yeah.
and the R1S is the seller. That's where and now they're coming out with R2, and they're not even going to do an R1T. I'm sorry, they're not even going to do an R2T.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not
I
going
don't
to
think
do
so.
it. And then they're going to
Yeah.
do an R3, which is going to be even smaller. The R1T is the only truck Rivian as of now plans to make. And
Right.
it barely sells. It probably doesn't make any money or profit. None of the trucks do, not even Cybertruck. And but it was necessary for Rivian to do it in order to be credible as an adventure brand with the R1S. And the
Yeah.
R1S and the R2 is really where the money's going to be. So
I
that
tell
makes
you,
sense.
yeah, I tell you what, that R1S is you know, this is like, that it's a nice looking SUV. Sorry, I got a little distracted. This is telling me looks like the Facebook stream dropped.
Oh, did it
Um
drop out there?
yeah, Facebook
What if there's a
did.
time
So,
limit on it?
oh, I guess so. Well, sorry for
All right,
anybody.
Facebook folks,
Sorry, Facebook folks. Yeah, but hopefully they're checking things out on YouTube.
on
We're also
YouTube.
on
Yeah, yeah,
X.
yeah.
Yeah, so um,
The
yeah,
But the R1S is there's not really any other true SUV in the market other than like the Kia EV9, right? Like
yeah,
the other SUVs that they call SUVs, like the Mach-E is not a Mustang, the Model Y is not a I'm sorry. The 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 Mach-E is not an SUV. The Model Y is not an SUV. Those they call them SUVs, but they're not SUVs.
no, they're little
You know,
crossovers, basically.
they're
Yeah,
crossovers,
yeah,
absolutely, right? They're hatchbacks for God's
yeah,
sakes, It's the R1S is a true SUV looking SUV. The Kia is they make an SUV looking SUV. Scout when they took their reservations, 80% of them were for the E-Rev. They're not for
mm-hmm,
the battery electric truck, right? So
yeah,
Ford does the Lightning, and 100,000 trucks total. And after all these years, man, they'll sell 500,000 gas F-150s. What if maybe it's that same Rivian mistake, right? What if they'd had the Explorer SUV battery electric or the Expedition? What if they had
yeah,
had multiple platforms to spread out the cost? A few different people have kind of talked about this. And so I think they wanted to trust the truck and thought this people would adopt it, and they just never did the scale. They never made enough of them. They could never make it profitable.
yeah.
And I think that's what they finally realized. And it's such a great truck.
It
But
really is. Yeah,
they couldn't. They needed it to be. They needed it to sell 100,000 to make enough. They needed it to sell 100,000 in a year, not 100,000 in 3.5
yeah,
years.
yeah.
It's
They
not
need.
gonna work.
Yeah, but then, and it's not, they're not going to do that when they're kind of bipolar with the prices and the
All the stuff we
deletes
talk.
and
Yeah.
yeah, all that stuff we talked about. They're going to,
Chick-
yeah,
chicken and the egg, right? I
uh-huh,
can't get the price down if I don't scale, and I can't scale if I don't get the price down.
right.
So they've got a real problem here, and I think the final nail in the coffin was all the stuff that we saw when you eliminate the tax incentives, and then you can't get good leases, and then you end up with the final was getting rid of the cafe standards, and you don't have any ZEV credits anymore. The kind of the secret sauce that, again, I wish Ford was just transparent about, is back about a year ago. I want to say it was quarter 3 or quarter 4, and I think it was quarter 4. They didn't announce it really. It was just a mention. It was just a mention in their earnings call. They said for every Lightning that they sell, it gives them enough ZEV credits to offset the carbon emissions and the requirements to sell 17 highly profitable gas F-150s. And
Oh,
if they didn't do that, they would have to go and buy those ZEV credits from Rivian or Ford, or or Tesla. And so even if they lost money on the F-150, they didn't have to spend that money buying those credits from Tesla. So not only are you not spending the money, but you're not giving the money to your competition. So it's okay if I lose $10,000 if I'm not spending $10,000 and giving that money to my competition. So
So they weren't losing as much money as they were advertising then
they
in
were losing it, but they
roundabout.
weren't spending it on something else they were going to have to spend that money on. And they are losing it on developmental costs and building out factories and building out battery and building, the skunk works. They're losing billions of dollars
Yeah.
anyway, but at least there was a business case. They were going to have to spend that money on something and you could justify it. And you were trying to engineer these things and you were trying to build yourself to T3 and these other things. And but there was just no other reason to do it anymore. You couldn't even justify it with the ZEV credits anymore now that all that's gone. And so it's you had to build the Lightnings at least to be able to sell the F-150s, but you don't even have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a tough deal, man, and it's not something I think Ford would ever say out loud. But I do think that was the final, right?
Yeah. But
When all that went away.
the disappointing thing though for me is, you know, military terms. I wasn't in the military, but I have a lot of friends that were. This like whenever you're going to war, you always have an exit strategy. And I think that Ford had a really bad exit strategy with this, or a non existent one. And it was very like, oh, we're going to try this. And they got all of this stuff ready with this whole new T3 design and then the assembly tree instead of the assembly line. And they announced all of that. And they were planning on doing these things, but then the rapid shutdown. So what I wish is that Ford or any of the companies, they would have a strategy where it's like, they'd spend years building these trucks or building any kind of vehicle, planning and everything like that. And then to actually just, okay, we're done. I want nothing to do with it anymore is never ever the best strategy. And I think running away with it, uh, at least now at the end of the year, is probably not the best. They could have at least said, hey, if we don't sell this many in 2026, then we're going to be done in 26 or something like that. That would probably have been a better option. But
I was full transparency. I was shocked that they didn't do a 26, and I felt like an a-hole because there were rumors that this was going to happen. And
yeah,
the Wall Street Journal did a whole article that this was going to happen. And folks at Ford told me that they were still going to be a 26. And there was order banks were open at dealers ordering 26s, and they brought a 26 STX
I saw that.
to Electrify Expo in Texas.
Uh-huh.
And I know 2 Ford employees personally who ordered an STX, not an STX. I'm sorry. They ordered a 26 because they're allowed to order every couple years a new
Yeah.
vehicle that they get good lease deals on, and they just kind of keep rotating cars. So I know personally 2 Ford employees who ordered a 26 model. So I thought for sure the 26 at least is going to happen. And so I'm out here like mocking the Wall Street Journal. I'm like, oh,
Oh no.
it turns out they were right. It turns out they had
Yeah.
the rumors correct. And I was like, what an asshole I am. You know what I mean? I'm wrong. I'm thinking, Ford, look, they've got the order banks open. They're taking orders. 2 employees that I personally know have ordered these. They've got it at the EV Expo. This is happening, guys. They're just pausing it. Like I'm hook, line, and sinker, man. Naive as heck. I'm like a 19-year-old kid over here drinking the Kool-Aid. And then the giant corporation that I'm usually cynical about, I'm over here wearing their hat, suckered in. I felt like such an idiot, man. And
Oh my gosh.
I hadn't felt like that in a long time. And I think the only question is, did they know it this whole time, or did this honestly just at the last minute just occur to them? And I don't know what to believe anymore, but it's a bummer. It's a bummer, man.
And usually when stuff happens like this, you have a few key people that are wanting to kill something, and there's enough people like internally kind of trying to encourage them not to, and then when there's enough I told you so's kind of coming up
They
there,
get their way.
they're just like, yeah, we're killing it. That's kind of what happens with this. I agree with Alan here. He says Ford should have made an E-Rev in the F-250 and 350 for those who need to tow or 700 miles range. So that would have been perfect. You just,
Yep.
because that is also, I mean, there have been vehicles that they make that have been made. I think Volkswagen did it, or like back in the day there have been some, BMW I think has one that's like an E-Rev style, but there have been a few over the years that have done this, and but no one's really tested it, I don't believe, mass wise, unless you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this would be a good test. You just keep the lighting going, and then you just test it. Are the F-250 and F-350 owners gonna want an E-Rev? And then you could even put a bigger battery in there and a bigger engine. It's a bigger truck. So
Yeah, I think it would be a great E-Rev.
yeah,
Scout will be, I think, the first one to hit the market. Travis was asking, do I think, or do we think Farley will get fired? The Ford family controls that. So
yeah,
the Ford is an interesting company. So even though they're a publicly traded company, the way their stock is structured, they have what's called Series A and Series B stock. Series B is what the Ford family owns, and they control the majority of the voting shares. So the Series B that the Ford family owns controls 60% of the voting stock. So even if everybody else in the public all voted a certain way for the board of directors, the Ford family controls all of the power of the board of directors and who
yeah.
hires the CEO and all of that stuff. So as long as the Ford family is happy with Jim Farley, and he's very well regarded, and frankly, I love Jim Farley.
I actually like him too. Yeah, yeah, I
Even though
really
this
do.
bothers me, Farley is an engineer. He is very well regarded. He's worked for a number of car companies. He's incredibly smart. Um, he knows China and the industry, and he's an incredible CEO. Even though this is a rough moment, he's great. I don't see him getting fired. He's one of the best CEOs. I wish he would have handled this better. I wish he would have said things differently. I wish I knew the truth. I've met Jim Farley. I think what he did with bringing Tesla into the charging area for other vehicles, I think has transformed everything that we know about the EV industry and charging. And I think it's one of the most historic moments we could have ever had. And so I think he is safe, and I think he should be safe. I think that yes, it just is such a bummer. I've reached out a couple times on X and tagged Jim Farley, trying to um,
Yeah,
needle him into coming on to Turn Down for a Watt. We're too small of a channel, and I don't think Ford would ever let him talk to me in that way, because I think they would be too scared of me asking questions. And I
yeah.
do think Jim,
You're gonna be honest. You'll have.
yeah,
I don't think. Yeah, press usually likes more pre-programmed questions and stuff. So
yeah, softball questions. And Jim
yeah.
Jim has twice said things that he probably more than twice, but
Oh yeah.
recently he said two things recently that he probably shouldn't have said. So he was at a public forum and with a bunch of Mustang fans, and one of the things he said that I'm pretty sure if he had to say it over again, he would have said it differently. Is he said the Mustang will never be electrified. Um, and I think what he meant to say is that the gas Mustang will never be discontinued, that there will always be a gas
Oh
Mustang,
yeah.
that it will never be purely an electric Mustang without some type of, there will always be like a gas GTD or a gas Dark Horse or a gas Mustang. But off the cuff, amongst all these Mustang owners, he said the Mustang will never be electrified, almost saying that the Mustang Mach E is not a real Mustang.
Yeah.
And so that got a little bit of stuff going around, right? And then more recently on some interviews, he made a statement that Ford was forced to make the EVs, and only made them because they were forced to. Now, was that saying the quiet part out loud, or did they not want to make the Lightning to begin with and truly were forced to? Because what's the truth? Because if you go
Yeah.
back to when the Lightning came out, they called the Lightning the Model T moment, which, by the way, they've said twice now. They also called the
Yeah.
Universal EV the Model T moment. But,
Yeah.
that's what a corporation has to say. So what's the truth? Was it the Model T moment, or were they forced to do it? Um, I don't know. I would like to know. I wish they were more transparent. I wish they would just be honest. Um,
Yeah. Well,
if they were forced to do it, they made one hell of an effort.
Jim does seem like he's an honest guy just from the stuff that I've listened to him, but he
Yeah.
does seem a little closed, like what you're saying. Maybe not fully communicating everything, but you're right. I don't know. I actually don't know which way it is. Like, were they forced to make it? I don't know. Did they get credits? Like you communicated, they did get some incentive from the government to actually make the electric vehicles. So there was some stuff there. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think he'll get fired, to be honest. I actually like him because he's one of the few CEOs that, when he is having candid conversations, he'll say some stuff that it's kind of refreshing to hear
It is.
from a CEO. Like
Yeah.
he's the one that I heard say, I don't even remember what interview this was, or if it was just a written article or something. I think it was a regular interview, but he was talking about his wife telling him when she tested out the Lightning or the Mustang, I forgot which one, but she's like, basically, Tesla is the Apple,
The
and
iPhone. Yeah.
Ford is like the Android or the PC.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's what started getting them thinking more about, okay, we need the software side of things. And that's where they were going in that direction. And then to totally axe it, yeah, I don't know. I think if you want to know the truth, I think there's something else behind the scenes that they're not saying. That the reasons why they're doing this, it's not just, I mean, it could just be $19 billion lost, but then
It's a
usually
lot of money.
it is a lot of money, but they're not going to, the trick with it is like, I'm not an expert at automotive engineering or manufacturing or anything like that, but my understanding is they already spent a lot of the money in the development. They already had everything ready to go for the 26s. It's not like they're going to lose that much more money just running them through the assembly line and creating the 26s with the knowledge they already have. So that's why it surprised me of the urgency of cutting it down. It's like, okay, the other thought I had is, why don't they, you know, if they're concerned about the amount of stock that they have, they just forego the 26s and just say, okay, we're going to start making them again in 27 because we have too many trucks on the lots, or something like that, or wait till June, delay it a little bit longer or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought they were going to do. I thought they were just going to clear out some of that inventory, and I thought they were going to restart at the end of Q1 and, make the trucks. They have such a need for it within fleets and within municipalities and within. I was really surprised that they didn't still make the 26s. And there was, I think F Gonzalez was asking like what we thought about who was going to survive. I don't know, man. Like I think Tesla will not
Tesla
do
will
anything with the
survive.
Cybertruck. Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll be fine. I would love to
Because,
see them come down with the price on the Cybertruck, and
yes,
um, GM, who the heck knows? Rivian for sure. I shouldn't say for sure, but I feel like Rivian's going to be fine. And
Rivian, yeah, Rivian will
I think
stay.
now GM is a
Uh,
big question mark. Scout, I think, is still a big question mark. Because they haven't produced anything yet. So you could see Scout and VW going a whole lot of different ways, until Scout makes a truck and starts selling something. And VW being what VW is, who the heck knows? But I could totally see GM. GM has gotten rid of the Bright Drop out of Canada and pulled the plug on them. VW just got rid of like we talked about, the ID Buzz. So anything's possible with their connection to Scout, and anything's possible with GM and the Hummer and the Silverado. I think Silverado has the best chance versus Hummer and versus GMC because Silverado is the work truck,
Yeah.
and they sell a work truck version. And when you don't have the Lightning anymore, what are you going to buy? You're going to buy the Silverado WT, and there is a work truck version of the WT that sells for like $42,000 to $45,000 out there that municipalities can go and buy, and it's got the bigger battery than the Lightning has. So I think this is going to be big for Silverado.
Yeah.
I think the Silverado will sell a bunch of WT trucks to all these places that can't buy Lightnings anymore. So I think it's big for Silverado, but I don't know. I don't know about Hummer. They're discounting the
Hummer.
heck out of Hummers.
Yeah, yeah, they are. They're discounting a lot of the EV trucks. To me, besides the Lightning, I think the Hummer is probably one of the nicer looking ones. So it has a pretty nice look to it.
You
But
just don't have much of a use case outside of, Lightning you could use for the trades, you could use
yeah,
for, police departments, you could use for national parks, you could use, for all of these other use cases. And the Hummer only really has the singular um, kind of use,
right. Yeah,
whereas the Silverado can be used for all those other purposes too.
yeah. So I agree with you. I think Silverado will hang on. Rivian, I mean, it's even though they don't sell as many, like you said, they sell more of their SUVs. The R1T is more of that's what people know them by. Like, that's the one they advertise. That's the one they first came out with. So I think as long as Rivian stays around, then they'll probably make the R1T because Rivian and Tesla are set up to where, you know, I don't know this for sure, but they can make like 10 trucks if they want. If the demand isn't there, they could just make less. It's like Ford and Chevy are set up kind of like McDonald's where you got to sell a bunch. They make their money off of masses and stuff. Tesla and Rivian do make money off of selling more, but I think they're set up to have a smaller scale production if needed. So I think Tesla will stick around because even when they weren't selling as many of their Model S's, as they were, like when the Y came out and the 3 and, the Model S's, they weren't selling as many and, they just make less, so I think they'll do the same thing with the Cybertruck. So the Cybertruck will stick around. Hopefully they redesign it a little bit because that's, my opinion, is not the prettiest of the trucks. But I tell you what, some of those that are wrapped, they look really cool. I like some of the wrapped ones. There's some really neat wrapped ones out there. They look like some cool SUVs to me. So yeah, those will stick around.
What do you think about they're talking about down here the Slate and mentioned the Tello. The Tello's right here in the Bay Area where I'm at, just right across the bridge. It's those are both interesting. Again, kind of like this, like I was talking about with the Scout. I'd like to see them get produced and get sold.
Yeah.
Slate's got the advantage of being connected with Amazon, so as long as Amazon wants to continue to support them, they certainly have billions of dollars in the coffers. As long as they want to keep feeding them, Slate can do whatever they want as long as Amazon wants them. But
yeah,
I'd like to see them get out there. I mean, they got the little tiny trucks. It's a totally different thing. Affordability is certainly in their favor. So what's your take? Those aren't going to be trucks that I buy because, again, like we talked about, I'm the size of a Slate, so that's not going to work. But what's your take on the Slate or out there in Colorado, for example, Slate and Tello? I mean, what do you think?
So all-wheel drive is what you need in Colorado. It doesn't really matter what size vehicle. I believe the Slate will do well. I agree with you as long as Amazon keeps supporting it. I think that's why Rivian stuck around because Amazon has been supporting them with their delivery trucks and everything like that. But Slate, as long as they still have that Amazon support, they'll stick around. But because they have the lower price point, because that's the problem with all of these other trucks. I think that's the reason why Ford has sold a lot of the Mavericks because it's a truck at a lower price point. I actually don't like the look of it. The new one, the Lobo one was kind of cooler looking, but I wasn't a huge fan of the look, but they sold a bunch. And so Slate will do the same thing. I don't know much about Tello. I've seen a couple pictures, but I haven't really um, known much about that. But yeah, if you create a vehicle that you start building that following, you make it cheap, and you figure out how to make it affordable, and you figure out how people can just interact with it. The Slate started advertising lots of things that people can modify with their vehicles, and they're really big with that. So you start doing that, it's like you're going to be selling a bunch of trucks because people are like, oh, I can do this. I can make it look however I want to. So Slate's, I think, gonna do really well. I actually think if Scout can get out there, Scout can do well because it's a smaller truck. It just depends on the price point uh, with uh, with the uh, with the Scout truck. So
Scout will be interesting. I think we're going to learn a lot of truths about the world with Scout, because so many people are like, I want a 6-person truck or a 6-person SUV. And they were talking about this with Cybertruck, right? A lot of people wanted the Cybertruck with the front bench seat.
yeah,
And the Scout is going to have an option with a bench seat on front. And we're going to see, do people actually buy the Scout with the 6-person option? I'll be curious. And then the E-Rev, I think that'll be the first test of the E-Rev. Do people buy a bunch of these E-Revs? And so yeah, that'll be interesting. I think the Slate, the marketing could be curious. I like the idea of the blank slate. Doesn't that just kind of sound cool?
it does. It
I've got a
sounds
blank
super
slate,
cool.
doesn't it? You know,
It
and then
does.
I could
It
totally see the way that the tuner the tuner kids got into the Japanese cars. You could just tune it.
mhm.
I could see that getting momentum. I could see that being a fun thing, a cheap thing. I could see that catching on. Um, and then the Tello is something that is more of an urban car. I could see that something being, Chicago, New York, San Francisco. I could see that being something Los Angeles. I don't see that doing well in other places, but you can get 4 people in that thing, and you can fit quite a bit in there. And because it's got a mid gate, you can actually put a surprising amount of stuff in the Tello, um, more than you could put in the Lightning in some cases, because it doesn't have a mid gate.
Hmm.
It's a
I didn't realize
surprisingly,
that. Yeah.
yeah, because of that mid-gate function, you can put stuff into the bed that you can't, ladders and certain other things from Home Depot that you can't put in the Lightning without it extending out past the tailgate. Um,
Yeah.
there's some interesting videos and stuff that Tello does, and um, yeah, so it'll be interesting. But they got to build it, they got to get it out there, they got to sell it. And I still think the big obstacle for both of those is going to be that they're electric, and there's a certain amount of people out there that are going to look at electric and still scoff at it, and still they can't wrench it. They can't, they can build it, and they can add on these little things, and it's going to be like a Mr. Potato Head, but they can't wrench it, and they can't carburate it, and they can't tune it, and it's still not a tuner. They
Yeah.
can't throw the different exhaust on it. They can't make the different noise. They can't make the different turbo sounds. They can't, you're not going to see a Fast and Furious movie with a slate and a Tello. And
Yeah.
nobody's going to be stealing those cars and zipping around. And I, you know what I'm saying? Vin Diesel isn't going to go and so I don't know. It'll be curious to see how they do.
Yeah. I think. Let's see. Alan was saying for a little more, you can buy a used Lightning with all-wheel drive and 4 doors. He was referring to the 35 K. That's it's
Yeah.
actually that's a very good point. Like right now, kind of getting back to the Lightning a little bit. You can actually get some pretty good deals on them right
Dang good
now.
deals. Yep, sure can.
Really, really good deals. There's 0%. They'll set up a charger for you at your house. If you can find it. But just to your point, watch Chris's video, because he talks about that getting, you know, if you want some specific, you need to actually get out there and get it soon. And he'll give you more details on that. I'll just kind of plug it a little bit, but tease a little bit. But yeah, if you want something specific, you need to get out there and get it soon. But yeah, but you can get some really, really good deals, even on used ones. But the new ones, you can get 0%. You can get free electric installation. There was a third thing. I believe it was like no payments for 90 days or something. They were advertising too on some of them. So yeah, you can get some really, really good deals right now on a Ford Lightning. Trims that I recommend really is all about your use case. What do you use it for? Um,
Yep.
uh, with one exception, and I don't know if ever all the other Lightning owners agree with me on this, but I will say I don't think I ever would recommend anybody having a standard range battery. I just always recommend the extended range. That's just because of like what you experienced. You had issues. I heard a lot of people having issues with standard ranges, but like if you're going on a trip, you want like if you're traveling, typically you want to go from no farther below 10% when you're on the road, and then you charge, and then you usually it takes a lot longer after you're above 80% to keep charging up. So you have about 70% use battery use on a road trip. So the higher the larger the battery, the further you're going to be able to go with that 70%. So that's just my take on that. And I always recommend the Lariat because that's just what I have. But it's use case. Some people really like the XLT, really like the Flash, but be careful on the Flash because they did add that third battery. They snuck in that third battery where it's a little bit smaller. Um, so I'm not saying that's bad, but they're calling it an extended range battery, and it has about 10 kilowatt. No, it's 123 kilowatt hour battery, I believe, or 121, something like that. So it's a little bit smaller than the other extended range battery. So look at that, and then also make sure you double check what's deleted. As Chris was saying earlier, just make sure even on the 25s, there's some things that are deleted. So don't go out and get a platinum if it's not going to have massaging seats. Don't be spending that money on there if you're not going to be getting the nicer massaging seats and everything. So, but yeah, you can get, I've seen deals down into the 30s, but that would be for the lower ends. You're probably going to be spending uh, 50s at least, I think, on a good one. But you can still get a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I actually prefer the Lariat. I prefer the 20-inch over the 22-inch wheels. At some point, I am going to switch my wheels out. The 22 rides harder than the 20s for sure. It
Really?
gets worse range. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That those thinner wheels, a little bit rougher, and
Yeah.
it impacts the range. I definitely notice a difference on both of those. The ride quality isn't as good, and the range is worse because of those bigger wheels. So that's one of those things that at some point I want to swap them out. I don't know what I'm going to do. Wheels are so expensive, so I'm going to find some takeoffs off marketplace probably.
Mm-hmm.
I'll either take some some maybe some Lariat wheels and then power coat them black, or maybe some I kind of like the black. It's funny, the STX. I was looking forward to the STX because I like the black STX rims. I might find a gas STX and see if I can swap those out. I need to find out. It just depends because I don't want to have to put any offsets in or anything like that. So I have to find out where depending on what rim. If you go too small, I think certain 18s you can't put 18s on because you have to have offsets. So I think it depends on the wheel and how it's made, what you can and can't do. I'm not very good with the wheels the way like Jason Martin really are expert at these things. They seem to, and there's also things like the tire pressure monitoring system. Certain years are different frequencies than others. So you can't
Hmm.
just go and take the wheels off a 23 and put them on a 25. They're not compatible. You'd have to switch out the TPMS sensor, which isn't
Interesting.
hard to Yeah, there's these little things you have to know to do that I don't know to do.
Yeah.
I only know to do them because they've told me that I have to know to do them, you know?
Yeah, and you're going to be, and once you switch those out, I think the 20 inches are going to be fine with, because the Lariat, even though the XLT extended range is you'll probably get that's the highest range, because I think they have they have the 18-inch wheels on there, I believe, on the XLTs, right? Or is that just the Pro? I think it's just the XLTs have the
I
18
think there's
inches.
different. I think 18 is the Pro and XLT had the option of,
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. So
yeah.
if you get the 18, that's obviously going to be higher range, but I have not had that bad of range, honestly. Um, and I think it's just because of my location, but I have the 20-inch wheels, and I regularly get 350 miles if I ran it down to zero. And that's just because where I live, like I live in Colorado Springs. I work in Woodland Park, which is about 2,000 feet in elevation higher in about 15 miles. So I'll go up and it'll kill the range going up. Some of you have seen my range test, I, but then it charges on the way back down. So it averages out a lot higher than if you were driving on the highway. Just even if you're driving 65, I get at least 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour on that trip. And so I do pretty well with the tires. So I do pretty well with the tires, the range, everything. Oh, it just dropped down another percent. So I've still been doing all this. It's still, guys, it is a great truck. I really encourage you
Absolutely.
to go out and get one if while they're still out there. Watch. I probably it is almost 2 hours here. I was gonna
Yeah,
do a
we've
store
gone. This
live
is
stream.
great for
I
your first live stream. You're
man,
crushing it, man.
it is awesome. I really appreciate you guys watching. I was only expecting a few viewers, but we've been sustained at over 50 viewers for quite a while, and I really appreciate you guys watching. This is
Yeah, what's it been? I haven't been able to see. I can't see it as a, you
it's
can see it as
been
the host, but I can't
right
see it. It's been
right
around
now.
50.
Yeah, right now we have 61, but it's been a sustained above 50 for for quite a while, and I really
That's
appreciate you
awesome.
guys. And I think and we need to do this more often. I really appreciate talking to you. It's really it's nice to be able to talk to somebody else that's honest, that's not worried about what Ford's going to say to him or anything like that. And you know, I think, guys, whenever you're when if you're out looking for an EV, and I'm still going to be keeping this. My wife and I talked about it. I I don't have any well, there's a couple of things that I thought about, maybe going out and getting a new one. That way I can reset the miles or something like that, or get a lease or whatever. But then we've talked about it. It's like, let's just drive this thing forever. I don't have any degradation on the battery, at least that I've noticed. Like, I need to plug up one of those things. But this thing, I'm going to guess that this battery, somebody, if I drive this forever, so y'all can come back to this live stream and you can quote me if I'm wrong, but I'm gonna put my estimate down here that this battery will last at least 300,000 miles. That's my that's my goal. If I actually make it that far with this truck, we'll we'll see. Maybe I'll end up getting the platinum when they figure out how to put all leather the seats in right, or maybe they come back with the new EV version or something. I don't know,
I
but
wouldn't go to platinum, man.
yeah,
I think you got there's no reason to, man. You got
yeah. The
everything you need.
Lariat is, to me, if you're out there looking, Lariat is the best overall trim. You get most of what you get in the platinum. The thing that I really like, I like the little things, but the automatic folding mirrors I need backing into my garage. I don't know if you could tell, but I only have a few inches once I close my garage door. So I need the folding mirrors.
Oh, I thought you were saying folding mirrors. I thought you were talking about how some of them, when you put it in reverse, they tilt.
Oh no, I don't
Um,
have that. No.
So
No.
pro tip.
Yeah.
Uh, so the Lightning has 3 um autosave like profiles, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, like you have number 1 can be for you, number 2 can be for your wife.
Right.
Um, I set up number 3 as mine, but with the mirrors tilted.
Oh
So
my gosh, that's so clever.
does that blow your mind or what,
That's
dude?
awesome. We
So
should do
what?
we should do a live stream just giving little pro tips about what to do with the lightning and how to enjoy it.
Yeah. So
So
one is mine, 2 is my wife's, and then 3, if I need the mirrors tilted, I just hit the number 3 button, and it's the exact same in every other way, except the mirrors go zzz, and they're tilted so that I can back up
oh
and have
my
my mirrors tilted
gosh.
if I need it. Otherwise, it's the
That
exact same. And then
that
yeah,
is great.
yeah.
That
I
is
thought you were
great.
talking about that, but no, you were talking about the
No,
folding
just
part. But yeah,
the ones that
folding
fold
them.
in automatically. So here's
Yeah.
another tip for everybody. Speaking of saving on range and stuff, make sure you go in and turn off your Pro Power onboard every single time. And I don't know, I've had people argue with me, I've had people agree with me on this, but sport mode without one pedal drive is the most efficient for me in Colorado with the terrain that it is. But I've had people say, okay, out in Kansas where it's a little flatter, that normal or one pedal drive is better. But test that out. Test it out in your area. But that does save me a decent amount in range. And then, but it's been really good. This has been 2 hours, and I probably need to let you go to bed. So it's spend time with your family. But I really appreciate you. I really do, Chris. You've been awesome, and most people. If you don't know Chris yet, I know some people said that y'all subscribe to both of ours, but you should subscribe to Chris's. He has he has even bigger, a much bigger channel than mine, and he's just willing to get on here and talk to me. And he just has a lot of really good advice with the Lightning and experience with the EV. His wife now has a Model Y that they just got, and so he's going to be talking about his experience with that. And I just he's a lot of great advice in there on his EV. So watch his videos, and I really appreciate you getting on, and we'll have to do this again. So
Yeah, man. I definitely. I know you've been talking about wanting to do it. And I'm like, dude, let's just do it, man. I'm happy
yeah,
to do. I love this stuff, and I'm super happy to get on, and I can talk about this stuff all day. And I love all the folks jumping on and chatting in, and a whole lot of fun, man. So super excited, and I always encourage when you want to do something, man, let's do it. Heck
let's
yeah,
do it. Let's just get it done. Yeah, I'm about that too. So sorry for everybody that lost Facebook stream, but I think they had a time limit for me or something. So
something. Yeah,
but
yeah.
we'll be doing this on a regular basis. Maybe I'll do a new series like Lightning Mike Live or something like that. And I'll see if I can get my mobile phone working with this, and maybe even do some kind of on the road thing, and y'all could kind of see the scenery in Colorado and everything. That's always fun. But yeah, we'll go ahead and sign off here, unless there's any you have any other final thoughts on the cancellation, or any. Let's see if there's any other questions that we're missing here. They're saying the flash is missing the seat memory, and they really miss it. So that's something with the flash. If they get rid of the seat memory button, that's not good. Um, let's see. They say I would get an extended range to account for battery degradation if keeping it for a long time. Possibly, but the Lightning really hasn't seemed to have very much degradation compared to a Tesla.
No, it
So
really doesn't. They have big buffers in them. They do a
yeah,
good job overall, Ford. You know.
yeah, I don't really think you have to worry about degradation with that. Um, but yeah, I guess that's it. But yeah, guys, tune in. I hope y'all have a Merry Christmas. If y'all don't I don't see y'all before then on another video or something. But and you have a Merry Christmas too, Chris. I really appreciate your time, and hope your 49ers win on Monday.
Monday Night Football, big
Monday
night,
night,
man.
Monday
Gotta beat
night.
them. If we
Yeah,
win, we're
y'all got,
in.
yeah, if you win, you're in. If you don't, then the Cowboys go from like less than 1% to maybe 1% of a chance.
1.5.
Yeah, I don't know, man. They're oh, I feel bad. Like my boys. I've been a Cowboys fan ever since I've been a kid, and yeah, they there's a lot of heartbreak there, but I'm convinced that once Jerry Jones turns over the team, then they might end up doing better. So, Jerry, if you're watching, just retire, give it a hire another GM. Anyways, we'll finish with that. So,
Hey man,
but
this is the power of the Ford Lightning though. If it can bring a Cowboy fan and a 49er fan together,
that's
it can do anything.
that's right. That is right. And so I encourage you guys go out there, do some test drives, uh, take advantage of some of the deals. Look at the leases because of the potential for the we don't really know the value after they cancel it. Um, but and then you could probably get in a pretty good deal on one after the lease is done. But yeah, just look at some of the deals of the year end deals that they got going on, and let us know if you subscribe to our channel. Let us know and comments on our videos and on which one you get. If hopefully this helped you. If you have any more questions, Chris is always available answering questions and I am too. So I try to answer every single comment. I even answer the ones where they give EVs a hard time. Those are fun. So, but yeah, y'all can comment. You can give EVs a hard time. I don't care. It actually boosts the algorithm with YouTube. So just comment all you want. So, but these are the best vehicles. But I'm gonna do probably a little commercial like here pretty soon, but talking about how to save money on a F-150. If you want to save maintenance, a little hack to save maintenance on an F-150, and then just telling them, well, buy a Lightning, buy a Lightning version or something. But it's true. If you want to save money, get an EV, and it'll save you a lot of money. So I really appreciate you, Chris, and I'll let you go and have a great Christmas. Everybody have a great Christmas, and I'll see you guys on the next video on the next live stream.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Thanks for joining.